Happy October 30th. We got a little bit of follow-up news to do with the quarantine centers being built, as well as immigration going up, actually, from the numbers that we were looking at last time in this regard. So we'll listen to Marco Mendocino, and I got some comments as we go through that. And I also got a couple of things for us to consider in regards to this, why it's happening and who's behind it. And that's kind of the hard stuff to talk about. We're going to start edging my way into that stuff a little bit today, at least anyway. And I think I have a couple of videos that can be added to the end of this too, because I'm not going to spend all day going through this because I've already done it in another video and it's kind of connected. So I'm just going to add that to this so people can go through some of that. And another video to do with certain immigration organizations, who runs them, and perhaps why they run them. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about that right now too. So let's listen to Mendocino and, Mendocino, and comment away.
Today, in Parliament, I was honored to table our 2021 to 2023 Immigration Levels Plan, our roadmap for the next 3 years. The key to both short-term economic recovery and long-term prosperity is immigration. And that's exactly what the plan lays out, a vision to increase our numbers a little every year over the next 3 years. Travel restrictions and other constraints have led to a shortfall in admissions this year, which is why our plan increases immigration over the next 3 years. We aim to welcome 401,000 permanent residents in 2021,
which is an increase of 51,000 for that year. And I believe each year that he lists out hereafter are all in excess of 50,000 more immigrants coming in each year over those next few years. And this all has to do with the migration pact that was signed by Trudeau through the United Nations, the non-legally binding pact that's part of the reason why this is happening, although that's kind of just the umbrella of all of the groups that actually help make it happen on the ground. But
411,000 in 2022 and 421,000 in 2023. With nearly 60% of all new admissions in the economic class, our plan will continue to focus on Canada's economic growth. Our plan is focused on getting the talented people we need and where we need them. Communities with the most immigration consistently see the fastest growth, which is why we're building on the success of our recent pilots and favoring community-based selection models to attract more newcomers to our smaller cities and rural regions across Canada. Keeping families together is important, which is why we will continue to support family reunification. And we will uphold our Canadian values by broadening economic pathways for refugees with the skills to hit the ground running and maintaining our global commitment to protecting the world's most vulnerable.
So that's probably part of the reason why they are able to bring them also more in, is the family reunification, where they will make sure that they are helping immigrate people that already have relatives here. So those are going to be constant Liberal voters, and it will help maintain this thing that's going on, which is all pretty interesting. And talking about the economic level of people that he's looking at bringing over, well, until we actually have enough primary industry to really support all of this stuff, it's not going to do us any good. We're in the middle of a pandemic and things are still bad and going to get worse. As we approach Christmas, shutdowns are going to be enacted again, and it's going to make it harder on small businesses once again. So anyway, moving on.
As we focus on rebuilding our economy, we're also mindful that Canada faces the stark challenge of a rapidly aging workforce. In 1971, there were roughly 7 workers for every retiree. Today, there are 4.
Because we've crushed family units, allowed them to be crushed by media, social media, lack of spirituality in the family, so we don't have any birth rate to keep up to it ourselves, not because we don't want to. It's because it's not something that's able to be easily done, and a lot of women are more career focused and not child focused, and some of them are paying the price for that now because they're old and lonely, their eggs are drying up, and being a career woman wasn't really biologically what they needed as a person, and they're suffering for that greatly. So this is all planned and all on all levels. Like, Married with Children, Kelly comes in and says something dumb and slutty, and the laugh clap machine goes off. Woo! I mean, we've been conditioned to be animals the way we are, and so now this is all coming through, and it has to do with certain things that go on in media, who makes the media, who makes these shows that glorify being disgusting, who helps bring immigrants in by the droves to countries all around the world.
By 2035, there will only be 2 workers for every retiring Canadian. If this rate continues, Canada will have to pay 40% more for the services like healthcare that we enjoy today.
If they would allow private to come in a lot more heavily, people who had insurance, that would increase jobs and the insurance needed to handle it. It would increase the number of privately hired nurses, which don't get necessarily paid as much as the social ones do, but they maybe shouldn't be. Who knows? I mean, we spent a lot of money on healthcare, and now nurses are on strike because they think they're getting a shaft, and they're afraid that Kenny's going to ditch a bunch of them. Well, what do you expect? I mean, you guys aren't even busy in the hospitals from what I hear and see. So it's a lot of just crazy, crazy things going on here.
Put simply, we need more workers.
And if you could even just lower that by a bit so that, say maybe 30% of the population now gets good private health care because they can afford it and it takes the load off of the social end. It wouldn't cost as much money. We wouldn't need as many immigrants, which is probably part of the reason why the Liberal government makes sure that this is maintained so that they can continue to bring in immigrants in order to look after their socialist failing system and their socialist failing immigrant policy. And we're essentially being replaced because they do get chosen over other people. Go to the hospital, Filipinos. Go to the old folks home, Filipinos. Not that I have anything against them. I understand that they want to get out of their country, but I think that things need to happen in people's countries where they live more in order to bring their own countries up, not just moving here constantly, because I don't know how it's justified. There's tons of people out of work and going to be more. Oh, but you're going to bring in people who will start restaurants and drive cabs and look after our old for your fucking failed fucking medical fucking bullshit. But don't get me wrong, I use it, but at the same time, if there was other options, other people could get off of it, and it would cost less for people who choose to stay on it. So.
And immigration is the way to get there.
Sure it is.
En termes simples, nous avons besoin de plus de travailleurs et l'immigration est le moyen d'y parvenir. 1 in 3 Canadian businesses, just like this one, are owned by immigrants, creating over 250,000 jobs from restaurants to construction to retail. Many other dynamic and highly skilled workers also help Canadian businesses
to grow. Mostly restaurants.
And they too help create jobs in the process. It's no coincidence that Canada's greatest eras of economic expansion, from the turn of the 20th century to the post-World War II boom to the impressive growth of the past 5 years, coincided with significant immigration.
It also coincided with so many people dying to fight banker wars to put us into the situation that we are in now, that there was room for growth because so many of us were dead helping fight your fucking stupid fucking wars. You're ultimately what is a religious war.
When our population grows, our economy grows, and all Canadians benefit. Canadians understand that in spite of the challenges of this pandemic, our immigration system is a competitive advantage that drives Canada's success.
How many people understand that? Let's have a look. Now, this isn't law, but I mean, to me, this is in a sense a sort of a polling system. A lot of people go to Global News. I don't know how many are left versus right wing, but looks to me like more people don't agree with you, Mendocino. I wonder why that is. I bet there's a lot of immigrants who don't agree with it either because they see their opportunities getting shot to piss by other immigrants coming in and taking their spot. So, full of shit, liar. I went over in one of my other videos, I'll tag onto this too, that, their claim that it'll change things is just, it's nonsense anyway. It's like, it's not going to do anything.
Well, it's a very good question, and my response is simple. Immigrants create jobs. 1 in 3 business owners is owned.
It's okay. So we have some of this here. I'll just cut in again quick too. Like they hire their own families. So you add the family plan or whatever, and the whole family works together. They only create jobs for more immigrants. I don't know too many immigrants who come and start a restaurant that hire a lot local people. They hire other immigrants. One of the pizza places is like a guy from like Pakistan area runs a pizza place, and he has nothing but immigrants working for him. Well, not completely, but still, nonetheless, quite a bit. The delivery guy's the only dude who isn't, and he probably wishes he was doing something else right now, more productive, and would make him more money than being a delivery guy. But I digress.
By an immigrant like Joe. Those business owners are creating hundreds of thousands of jobs. Over 250,000 people who are working thanks to the entrepreneurialism, the hard work, the ethic, and the perseverance like we heard from Joe today. Immigrants are putting food on the tables of Canadians. They're taking care of our seniors, and they are driving the economy of tomorrow. And at no time in recent history
driving the economy of tomorrow into the ground
has that been more important than in the context of this pandemic. And so what this plan does is it lays out a future vision for growth, economic recovery through immigration. The rural and northern immigration pilot is one of a series.
One of the only ways that economic recovery will happen through immigration is something that I'm going to show a little clip from this. It'll be like businesses that are going to work with lawyers like David Campbell Cohen and bring in people for less wages. This is part of like the foreign trade worker arrangements.
That we have introduced,
save money and recover through that, and then drive everyone else's wage down.
Which has been one of the unqualified successes at distributing immigration to those parts of Canada that need it the most. The reason why these pilots are working is because we are collaborating very closely with municipal and provincial partners, as well as business leaders who are on the ground. And by doing so, we learn more quickly what are the immediate needs of the communities, for instance, in Thunder Bay, or perhaps in Halifax, or perhaps in St. John's, and elsewhere in Canada, where we want to attract more immigrants. And so that's the purpose of these.
And of course, I've shown in the other video that I'll tap up here again too, that these pilots, he talks about them, but there's a little bit more detail about them, are designed to bring in and ultimately create a segregated area where most immigrants will be and remain. This isn't about multiculturalism because they already know it's not that great, doesn't work that well. So they're already arranging communities that will be segregated, self-segregated, because they don't want to hang out with us. Like the people in France over the last week who've lost their head over too much multiculturalism.
Pilots, and we will continue to make good progress on the rural and northern immigration pilot going forward.
Can you give us any details on any other initiatives you plan to take to
Well, in addition to the 2 pilots that I just mentioned, it was part of our last campaign platform to introduce a municipal nominee program. I'm very pleased to tell you that we have been consulting rather extensively with my provincial counterparts, as well as business leaders, as well as settlement service providers. And this will be another way in which we can encourage and foster more immigration to those parts of the country where they are starved for people. They want to have hardworking people. People like...
I don't know that Halifax is starved for hardworking people. It seems to me when the oil boom was on, a lot of people from out east moved here. Now they've all moved back, or at least a lot of them have. There's nothing for them to do. Hard work, starved for hardworking people. Working hard at what? Delivering fucking pizzas with an Uber driver, and the pizza man and the Uber driver are immigrants, but everyone else here is like, I don't even know what they're doing. This is ridiculous.
Chef Joe, who come with the dream.
Chef
and
Joe.
Who come holding out the promise to give back to their communities. That has been the singular most impressive hallmark of Canadian history. This plan today is a vision, but it also reflects who we were, who we are, and who we want to be in the future. And that's why I'm so optimistic about tabling this plan today in Parliament.
And then that other video that I'm going to tag onto this, it goes over some of the things Trudeau told him in the write-up that he gave him for how this is supposed to look and how it's supposed to be pushed through. It's going to be gender equality, and a lot of this is coronavirus migrants now too, which is some of the questions to do equally with this survey. It's both to do with questions about male-female equality, equality between countries, various other things to do with the type of immigration policy that they want to have. So anyway, now we're going to have a quick listen to a commercial from Canada Visa, and we'll sort of have the expose on the fact that companies use groups like this to bring more people in to work for less money.
Where you are in the world, there is only one place that can help you begin your journey towards reaching your Canadian immigration goals. CanadaVisa.com. Contact CanadaVisa.com if you have dreams of permanently immigrating to Canada, if you are seeking a Canadian work permit for yourself, or if you would like to hire someone from abroad to work for your Canadian company. If your goals include studying or earning a degree at one of Canada's world-renowned schools and universities. If you are interested in investing in the Canadian economy, one of the most stable economies on earth. If you aspire to bring your loved ones to Canada from abroad. If you are looking for a helping hand and need assistance settling into your Canadian life. If you are interested in the wide array of premium services offered by David Cohen and his team at the Campbell Cohen Law Firm. The many paths to Canada all start from one place.
Look at that. That's a pretty funny little visual there at the end.
Here.
Oops, shit.
Many paths to Canada all start from one place.
Nice. Very well done, Mr. Campbell. Your advertising is impeccable. Anyway, here's some of the numbers. He did update his site to reflect the new numbers that we'll be accepting. Like I said, in excess of 50,000 more each year for those years. About half of them are family-oriented, so they'll all be having kids within those years and adding another one per 100,000 or whatever, so 300,000 over the course of 3 years, roughly. Oh, sorry, it'd be less than that. No, it might be about that much, actually. Anyway. So, and now here we go. Horrible, horrible lockdowns coming for the UK. Boris Johnson announces they'll be going into a heavier lockdown next week after his science advisors told him that is the only way to save Christmas. So they're going to be going back to a lockdown similar to when everything started. So delivery and takeout will be the only way to get shit in a lot of places. Won't be allowed in a lot of places. So, I mean, whatever. And it's just brutal. Before Christmas, no business allowed. So, I mean, they'll destroy Christmas in their own way, I guess. And whatever. Here's a little bit of cringe for everyone. The election's coming up pretty quick, and people are getting pretty hairy in the States right now.
Hey, gun! He's pulling... What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police. What's your last name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?
Oh, God.
Daniel Burns, okay. What's your name and what's your name and what's your name? Because I got it on video that you pulled a gun on girls. I have it on video. It's water, you snowflake! It's water! It's water, you snowflake! It's water!
So I guess that these girls are splashing this guy, and he started to brandish his pistol. So, yeah, madness. How about this from Joe Biden to finish this little segment off? Let me be clear. The videos that All America plan on releasing tonight have been illegally stolen from my son's laptop. If you watch, you are ultimately committing a crime. So please don't look at the horrible things and dealings that me and my kid do with China and Russia while we say Trump is the Russian colluder. Friggin' hilarious shit. Anyway, I'll post a couple videos to do with some of the stuff I was talking about. Like I say, there's going to be stuff to do with this survey in the one video, and the fact that people that are coming here are utilizing the United Nations to facilitate their way in. And again, this is also who the United Nations Migration Pact comes from in Canada, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'm hoping to try to get that clipped up, edited little view of the World Economic Forum this weekend. I've got time, so hopefully that comes out. So anyway, thanks for watching, and have a good weekend.